It's the 26th of April, and we've got business and social. Chris is still camping or hiking.
And we'll start with the collapse, and we do have a bit more collapse this week than we had in the previous weeks. Things had cooled down a bit, but it seems like the second wave is here.
Disney is planning more layoffs next week as it aims to slash another 7,000 jobs.
Here they will focus on the entertainment arm. So previously, it seemed like Disney Plus and all that had been a little bit protected from all of this. No more.
They just needed more time to think about people that needed to go away.
To choose the people that needed to go away.
Yeah.
To choose them carefully. And, of course, the other big problem, one of the other things Disney's doing, we'll talk about a little bit later, they're completely done with the metaverse.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, that's not a thing. That's never going to be a thing, and we're done with it. And you know who that affects?
Meta's lingering layoffs enter their next phase. The company has started notifying laid off employees early Wednesday morning in the second recent round of mass cuts. Now, this article is cool and all. It's from a few days ago. Mark Zuckerberg today said they're probably going to have to do another round of layoffs they maybe weren't exactly planning for because things are cratering spectacularly. He's like, this might not be the end of it.
I think that can all be attributed to his dogged just latching on to the metaverse. Everybody told him it was stupid. And here we are. The results of stupid. And how about the results of being a horrible clickbait farm? How did this not come sooner?
BuzzFeed News is shutting down. Well, I mean, okay. That makes sense.
We don't need them. BuzzFeed, after creating their whole world on BuzzFeed News or whatever, bought Huffington Post. So now they're going to pivot completely to Huffington Post and let BuzzFeed News die. Much like Amazon, they're like, well, the people we're laying off, they could get a job at Huffington Post. You don't know that they couldn't. It's possible.
It's really horrifying, though. It's like,
This one's kind of a loose tech thread, but just the Northwest in general. We've been following their saga.
REI, Recreational Equipment Incorporated, to close only Portland store, citing break-ins and theft. There's a bit of lawlessness around Portland. Engagement challenge. Are you in that area? Are you in the Pacific Northwest area? Is it as bad as the rest of the country's making it out to be? Because it seems like, in Deep Space Nine, it was before the collapse it was this, and they cordoned off. At this point in our history, they'd cordoned off entire sections of city and just said, okay, everybody, good luck. Live communally in that part of the city. See ya.
That's definitely what Philadelphia has done, right? The Kensington Street, they're just like, yeah, we're just not going to bother. Do what you're going to do down there, but keep it there.
Yeah.
And it becomes a dark place. But people still flock to it, which is kind of like... we need Krista here to talk about, I'm sure she has some insight into whether or not REI is good for camping.
Yeah, I wondered about that. It's like, this is a Krista story.
And
it's funny, though, because that store has been there since 1976.
Oh, the last straw was when somebody drove through the front door to facilitate looting.
Yeah.
And it took them 2 months to get it repaired and open the store back up. At which point, more robberies.
Their insurance company is probably just like, we can't. We're just...
And they had 24/7 security, too.
Wow.
It didn't matter. There's just such a wave of crime that they can't stop it.
So I should really step up the hydroponics thing in the basement then, huh? I need at least a couple of years of meals. And
how are you going to stop the looters?
I hope that they don't notice.
They'll sniff you out. And the tax situation is when the money is down, it looks like tax receipts this year are going to be catastrophically low.
Yeah.
And so it's a kind of a snowball effect. And then things change and you're not allowed to write off certain things under the new tax plan.
This is insane. This is literal insanity.
We go back to the tax code. Like, not only is it indecipherable, but it changes constantly. Yeah. And you might not see it coming.
Software firms across the U.S. are facing massive tax bills that threaten tech startup world survival. So basically, in certain situations, if you employ software developers working on a thing, you can no longer deduct their salary. You have to treat their salary, 80% of their salary, as profit. You have to deduct their salary over a period of 5 years. So this would basically make doing a software company, a small business software company, untenable, completely untenable, because you're paying taxes like as if you got a bunch of income that you don't actually get to keep.
And you might be thinking, well, this is not really about those people. This is about the big evil corporations. This affects you if you have 10 employees.
Yeah, the literal insanity.
And once again, unregistered securities. That's one of the big new catchphrases, right? Because that's how they are crushing the competition.
The U.S. SEC charges Bittrex with operating unregistered securities exchange.
It's the same story as all the other ones.
Engagement challenge, were they one of the good ones? Were they as upfront as Coinbase saying, hey, please regulate us? What's going on? Is this an unregulated security? I love this story just because I don't know.
Well, we know that FTX was one of the bad ones.
Yeah, well,
so that's been played out. And some of the arguments that big celebrities have made was like, how would I know? Who could have seen this coming? Now, to be fair, this young lady does have a good support system behind her because her family is well versed in this kind of thing.
Taylor Swift rejected crypto exchange's FTX sponsorship offer over unregistered securities concerns. They were offering $100 million, and the question from her lawyers were, are these unregistered securities? And there was no more sponsorship. $100 million.
And Taylor Swift doesn't need $100 million. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah. So just once again, Taylor Swift comes off as the smartest person in the room, which is amazing.
Has she ever had a terrible scandal? She had the Ticketmaster thing, but then she turned out to be on the side of the people there, or at least that's how they spun it.
Yeah, I mean, if that wasn't, then she came out ahead. Her record label thing, just the business move to just utterly destroy the other guy that was trying to get her masters or whatever. I mean, just brilliance at every turn. It really is shocking. If we could have someone that has, like, Elon Musk, but with the properties of Taylor Swift, that would be Tony Stark.
I don't think Taylor Swift needs attention as much as Elon Musk. I mean, you could say that she gets so much that it doesn't matter. I mean, she's never had, or at least in the recent past, she's never experienced a world without attention. But she seems to stay private and just do smart things. Engagement challenge. Is there a darkness to Taylor Swift that we're not aware of? And another of the big tech giants lawsuits, and of course, now is a time when IBM might be a little bit bummed that they sold this.
Yeah. GlobalFoundries sues IBM and says trade secrets were unlawfully given to Japan's Rapidus?
I think Rapidus probably.
There's some really interesting details that have emerged from this. I'm going to be following this one closely over the next few months, but the whole Qualcomm, Intel, Apple thing that happened. What GlobalFoundries is arguing here would seem to me to have some pretty significant weight behind it. IBM's a little miffed in general right now because, their New York operation would have been a good location for Intel's new factory, for example, and the subsidies and the chips money and all that. Like, they're set up for that in New York. It's a really impressive operation. But IBM is saying, or GlobalFoundries is saying that IBM shared information about their process with.
Well, you got to go back. IBM and GlobalFoundries were partners.
Yeah.
And then GlobalFoundries bought them out and bought all the intellectual property, or at least they assumed.
They bought themselves out, basically.
And so, but IBM was already in partnership with Rapidus.
Yeah.
So GlobalFoundries is saying, hey, we bought this from you.
Yeah, we expected to monetize this intellectual property.
You can't share it.
Yeah.
Like, this is ours now. You can't give it to them. And they probably did.
And that's why I thought there was a lot of parallels here between what Apple was doing with Qualcomm's intellectual property and Intel. And I'm surprised that more didn't come of that, because it sure looks like Apple was telling Intel's like, look, here is Qualcomm's secrets. Make us this so that we can have cheaper modems, and you'll have better modems too, and it'll be great. And Qualcomm will get screwed. Like, but we'll see. We'll see if that is how this shakes out. There's going to be some interesting details.
But the modem space is not nearly experiencing the growth of this.
Yeah.
So, like, what they sold then is worth so much more now.
Yeah.
And Rapidus probably, ask them. They're like, hey, can you give us, we don't want to buy that. They're charging a lot. Can you give it to us? And Microsoft, they're kind of in the leading position in the AI race, right? But the chokehold now
Bought their way in.
it's not the innovation, it's the chips. Can't get the chips.
Microsoft Readies AI chip as machine learning costs have surged. How insane are machine learning costs? Well, Nvidia H100s are $40,000 on eBay. We have that story, don't we?
It should be in this block.
Yeah, there it is.
But not yet.
Okay.
First, let's talk about Intel. And they are probably doing this to free up room for AI chips, because these chips no longer the cash cow that they were a couple years ago.
Intel discontinues Bitcoin mining Blockscale chips. No future generations announced. If anybody in the audience has one of these wafers or one of these chips they want to send me for my collection of failed silicon products, please let me know. But Gamers Nexus, they sort of joked about the waste of sand. It's like, oh, this processor is only slightly better than this processor. It's a waste of sand to make it. That was the waste of sand, because not only did nobody really want that, or it ultimately didn't matter, it took up valuable production space for everything else when we were in super crunch mode.
But they thought they could make a lot of money because the crypto world was on fire.
They probably would have been better off making GPUs.
The crazy thing is the software is now changing so much faster than the hardware can catch up.
Yeah.
So by the time you get something out there to market, no one cares anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Bitcoin, we're not doing that anymore.
Well, and it's kind of the reverse problem with their GPUs. When they launched their Arc GPUs, the software was awful, but in very short order, the software's actually gotten really good. Those are actually good, affordable GPUs now. It's shocking.
And lithography, chip making, that is the big deal. That's what everybody wants now, because as we can see, depending on another country for your chips creates a terrible, terrible vulnerability. So you got to make your own, but nobody's really been doing that. We've been depending on China and Taiwan to do everything.
China is the largest buyer of chip making machines as sales hit an all-time high.
Taiwan number 2. China number 1. Now, they're not supposed to be buying those for a lot of countries. You don't wonder about that. Maybe that didn't kick in time. And here's what you were alluding to. AI chip. Everybody wants to do an AI startup.
Yeah.
Literally everybody. I think I might be the only person that doesn't. And you got to get the chips, right? But no one's selling them. So you got to go to the secondary market. You're going to pay a premium.
NVIDIA's top AI chips are selling for more than $40,000 on eBay. These are the H100s. It's so bananas that an anonymous benefactor in our audience actually sent us one of their A100s because they were upgrading in their firm, I guess, or whatever. And so they're like, oh, we rolled out the H100 everywhere for millions upon millions of dollars. Here, would you like an A100? It's like, yes, thank you. I will do good things with this. Thank you.
The MSRP on that, $10,000.
Yeah.
So quite the markup. And the highest one was going for $46,000.
Yeah.
Apple is not on the AI bandwagon right now. They're the only company that hasn't really announced anything, which is interesting. But
Siri must never be sentient or the world will end.
But they are still making hardware, and we're coming up on their developer conference when they will tell us exactly what, because the Mac world is so rabid. We have all sorts of predictions.
The Verge has their update. Here's our best look yet at what Apple's announcing in June. Refreshed stuff, new watch OS, probably new sensors in the new watch.
The headset.
The AR thing.
Importantly, no M3 chips.
The Steve Jobs Memorial Augmented Reality headset. Just rolls off the tongue.
And we've learned a little bit more about that headset that Apple is bringing out and what the operating system might look like.
Apple's VR headset might run tweaked versions of iPad apps. It's like, well, you don't have a touchscreen. We'll just have some stuff that's not a touchscreen and it'll work just the same.
And the app browser will be much like the normal iOS stuff. So, great, more Safari. And Elon Musk angered the world by switching the Twitter API over to a paid model. People did not like that. And he said, hey, we got to make money somehow. And of course, as much as backlash as he got, other tech companies saw that and they were like, yes, free money, we'll take that.
Reddit will begin charging for access to its API. Somebody that works at Twitter told somebody that works at Reddit how much money they're making from that API, and then this happened.
Importantly, the reason this API access is a big deal, not just your own apps that you've developed, but mining it for AI training. Up until this point, you could kind of do that automatically.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to pay a bunch for it. God help us if they train the AI on Reddit.
Isn't that what happened to Tay?
I think that was 4chan. And Google, once again, just shaking up all their hardware divisions, changing everything. If you bought into it, sorry.
Google Fi gets its third rebrand in 8 years.
Fi?
Fi?
Fi, I would think. Like Wi-Fi?
Google Fi.
Fidelity?
Oh, yeah, it is Fi. Google Fi gets its third rebrand in 8 years, adds free trial for eSIM phones. It's Google Fi Wireless.
So this is an interesting thing. Now, new phones have eSIMs, and you can just program those SIMs. So Google is giving you the opportunity, if you put down a credit card, they will give you 10 free days of Google Fi to determine if you have good coverage in your area.
They were originally called Fi, and then they were Google Fi, and nobody knew what either of those things were.
Also, they got this new logo. What do you think Krista would feel about this?
She'd probably comment that it's unusual to have a logo with so many colors, but it works for Google.
It's been their thing for a long time. You can also share this data connection with some of your other Google devices, like the Watch and so forth. But yeah, that's a good thing. It's T-Mobile, but it's nice that they give you a little bit of time to be like, well, this doesn't work at all at my house, so I'm not going to get it. But it will automatically renew at $50 a month, basic plan, if you don't cancel.
I think it also works over Wi-Fi. What's the other thing is that it'll try not to use the cellular connection as much as possible.
I mean, we already have that in the phones.
Yeah.
And Chromebooks are a big part of modern education. A lot of schools are just going to those, and then, you know, they do like the, what do they call it when they do at-home learning or whatever? And get out your Chromebook, and that's your whole school day. But some people are complaining that that is bad for the planet.
Chromebook expiration date and repair issues and quote-unquote bad for people and planet. So if you are using Chromebooks for this kind of an education thing, it's so locked down that it gets to a point and Google just says, we're not going to update the software anymore. Whereas it could keep running Linux. That could be a thing. Repairing it is also not fun because a lot of the time they're glued together.
But they won't let you run Linux because the big argument here is that the testing software requires new versions of Chrome. So once they run past that date, the testing software won't let them log in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of there's probably a little bit of an agreement there, right? With Google.
You could install the newer version of Chrome on Linux. It just runs slow.
Does it have to be Chrome or Chromebook? Chrome OS.
It has to be Chrome OS.
Yeah, so they're not going to let you. They're going to say that's like, oh, you're trying to cheat.
Yeah.
And another Google patent showdown.
Google must face trial over Sonos patents, California judge says. Yeah, this is what I was alluding to earlier for the other patent case. I was expecting this. Sonos, I'm surprised they were able to get their patents to stick because it's just wireless audio patents. And it's like, oh, what's the obvious thing to do here? Oh, okay.
I don't understand how Sonos is still a business. Okay.
That's a lot of patent money.
And you might see some changes in the grocery store coming soon. Now, this seems like a good idea. It would always be good to give us more information about the products that we buy. But this, after reading it, seems like it's more of just a new realm of advertising.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
QR-style 2D barcodes will revolutionize retail as we know it. Product companies will know when you're trying to find more information about their products. ...
It's going to be connected to the internet. That's terrible. Pacific Sun is the first company that's going to get on board with this. So if you buy a Pacific Sun product, you will get this new QR type barcode. And if you scan it, it's going to take you to a website run by Pacific Sun, which is probably not the best way to do that. And they're going to tell you about, it's like, oh, our sustainability and we're good for the earth and blah, blah, blah. But it could tell you, in terms of food products, cool things like, this is the chicken farm that this came from. Have you seen that in the news lately? Of avian flu or whatever? So we can, and also apparently if there's a recall, it's like, oh, well, the recall for this ice cream is only for this one factory. And then we could immediately know if your ice cream was part of it.
I'm really looking forward to the future Twinkie style product when the product ends and some enterprising, fan of that food buys the domain or buys wherever the QR code redirects and it turns into a memorial for that food.
Not memorial, malware. Anybody who scans, a 2018 Twinkie in 2023 is taking a huge risk.
You immediately get NSO group spyware.
I just wanted to find out if I could still eat this Twinkie, which is almost always true. Like
Yeah.
that's the food that lasts forever. And what I got was a Monero miner. Thanks, hostess. And F's in the chat. These were all but dead, but these were a big part of our childhood.
Yeah.
And it was tough to find them locally.
Yeah.
And if they had a demo disc in them,
yeah.
those went fast. You really had to get there quick.
The end of computer magazines in America. Maximum PC and Mac Life. End of the road. No.
They point out that there are a couple of PC magazines that are still out there, but not really like this, where it was like pure kind of marketing.
Byte magazine. That was the original, like super obscure, but really amazing. Lots of good articles, lots of good stuff in there.
And of course, they point out the one that we all know.
Computer Shopper.
I'll spend a lot of time browsing through that guy.
This is there was Louis the Liquidator, I think, was the place to order bulk storage from, because it was, just a black and white 2-page ad randomly in the middle here somewhere. And it's like, I've got this 9 gigabyte full height ultra scuzzy hard drive. And it's like, you got to deal with the weird ultra scuzzy interface, but it's 9 gigabytes at a time when you're buying a 200 megabyte hard drive.
It was cool. It was cool to look at and wish for all the things.
All of these companies are out of business now. I should tell you something. Like literally just none of them.
Well, they also point out that these the computer magazines, I think they had a graph in here. Maybe I was looking at something else, but these were massive money makers back in the day. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Look at that. In 96, Computer Shopper, look at the circulation on that guy.
Yeah. I mean, this one's from 98. So it started to get thin. It was already starting the thin trend, because this is about half the thickness of the 96 model of Computer Shopper. Like they didn't slow down.
And that half of that was ads.
Yeah.
They must have been making a killing.
Oh, more than half. It's just all ads. It's almost entirely ads, as a matter of fact.
What a great business model. That's a group that curses the web.
Because you were literally shopping for a computer. What are you going to do? Look it up on the internet? You don't have a computer.
Go to some local shop that's going to charge you a 200% markup.
Look at it. A Quantum Fireball. That's not even a thing anymore. Quantum Fireball, 5,400 RPM, 3-year warranty, 2.5 gigabytes, $119. Pretty soon, these are all going to be on the Internet Archive. It turns out they're a huge pain in the butt to scan, but somebody donated like $3,000 in order to buy somebody's old Computer Shopper collection, and so those will be on the Internet Archive, and you can browse those and feel the nostalgia, so you don't have to, keep a stinky old book around that's gotten slightly moldy.
You're assuming the Internet Archive is going to survive the latest investigation.
Well, if I get them scanned, I'll download them, and we can all have our own private Internet Archive.
And this is something that it's been a long time coming. We certainly needed. I wonder how good this will actually be, because their motivation to do this has got to be low.
Yeah. Amazon launches a program to identify and track counterfeiters. This is probably only going to be for things like Nike and Reebok. If you're trying to help people not buy counterfeit DisplayPort cables, it's going to be a big giant FU, no matter how obsessive you are about letting Amazon know about counterfeit DisplayPort cables.
And as we saw from Apple, if you were a big name, you already got special treatment here.
Yeah.
They would really get on top of counterfeit Apple products.
Like the time that Apple got, what was it? OnePlus's earbuds banned, which weren't even as bad of a ripoff as like you get at an airport. Like the AirPods ripoff at an airport are shockingly bad. And OnePlus, come on.
We can hope for the best. Actually, don't hope for the best. Expect the worst from Amazon. You will always get it. And expect the worst from your Windows 11 experience. This is the frog being boiled. They have turned the heat up one notch with this update.
Windows 11 start menu ads look set to get even worse. This is getting painful now. Microsoft might just have crossed the line with the new start menu adverts. Yes, you should look up the video that I did over a year ago on how bad this is and how this is going to continue to happen and how the FTC probably should get involved.
So what's going on here is if you did not have a Microsoft account connected to Windows 11, which is a circus feat to get done anyway, now they are going to harass you more and more and more to get your Microsoft account. And they make it look like one of those warnings that's like, oh, something's wrong with your PC.
Yeah.
And you go to the taskbar. Oh, no, there's an error. What's the error? Local account. We don't like that. Need you to fix that. And that goes in the ad space. They're going to tell you how great it is. You back up your PC. You can get OneDrive. Don't you want OneDrive?
Go straight to Linux.
Or, well, I guess in the same vein, just stop using the product, right? Which is the correct option for this as well.
Netflix password sharing crackdown to expand to the U.S. in Q2 of 2023. Engagement challenge below. Is this going to be enough to make you cancel your Netflix?
They said in the text, there's like, we estimate that there will be some pushback in terms of cancellation. I hope it's overwhelming.
I've already looked at the shows that Mom likes, and whoever gave me the tip to use Amazon to find old shows like Green Acres, thank you. You the real MVP. I've managed to order. I've spent less than $200 getting copies of all of the shows that Mom likes, and the Netflix clone is almost fully operational.
Is she able to use it?
So far.
Wow.
The interface is almost identical.
That's cool. And speaking of Netflix, they have brought the end of an era. I didn't realize until recently, somebody in the comments said this, but you could still get the discs. Some of the stuff that they don't offer on Netflix, they will still send you the disc if you sign up for, it was a little bit extra, right?
Yeah.
But not anymore.
Our final season, Netflix DVD stuff is coming to an end because we're not going to mail you discs anymore. That's insane. Why do you want us to mail you DVDs?
September 29th.
It's funny that Netflix in the beginning, there was not a network component of Netflix. There was nothing you could do on the internet on Netflix, but they knew where they were going to go then.
Oh, well, you did the selections on the internet, right?
Yeah, but you couldn't get anything else.
Smart. That was smart. They had a good business model there for a while, at least. And here is a like hell freezing over kind of deal, right?
Malicious
But
compliance.
it does seem like that it will be geocoded.
Yes.
So we are moving into the per country internet to try and defeat the giant tech monopolies.
iOS 17 to support app sideloading to comply with European regulations. So you can install an app if you jump through a bunch of hoops, and you think of the most malicious compliance thing you can possibly think of to comply with European regulations to let you sideload an application, and you're going to be able to do it on iOS 17 if you're in one of the magical countries.
Here's a level 1 prediction. We're going to be looking at a story in 3 to 6 months that's like, after the latest iOS update, all my sideloaded apps are disabled or removed or whatever. Oh, they're going to pay a $60 fine.
Oh, I thought you were going to go somewhere way darker with that. It's going to be it's a news story about an iPad that had an app sideloaded on it, which exfiltrated all British citizens' healthcare data.
Oh, so they could say it's like, we told you.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like they get a list of all devices with sideloaded apps and they forward that right to NSO.
Yeah. Somebody inside Apple security right now is formulating this plan to get the ultimate PR things. Like, well, see, you know, just as soon as we added sideloading applications, the British pound tanked, and this is why.
Well, oh, here's a good argument, right? If you sideload apps on your phone, could we trust that as a financial device anymore?
Oh, no.
Maybe we got to disable the payments.
Yeah.
Oh, what if we see that? There's another level 1 prediction.
Apple launches Apple Card savings accounts with a 4.15% interest rate. Yeah, Robinhood's at 4.5%, isn't it? It's sort of nuts.
I don't trust either of those entities.
Well, yeah.
Of course, the U.S. banks are pretty terrible too. Now, this is just up to $250,000. Obviously, they don't want to mess with that FDIC stuff. So you can't, if you have a ton of money, you can't just put it all in Apple. Well, that would be insane anyway, right? But it's quite a rate. I mean, you should be giving us those rates, right?
Yeah.
Because the Fed rate is getting how much higher. And was it LastPass was the last one to get horribly breached? You really can't trust the password managers. Proton says they have a better solution.
Proton launches an end-to-end encrypted password manager. Yeah, the thing with LastPass is they only encrypted the password. They didn't encrypt any of the other fields. And it's like, oh, let me use the notes field to store this really important info. And it's like, ooh, that was a bad idea.
So other people have claimed this in the past, like LastPass, and it turned out to be not really the case at all.
Yeah.
So
It's like the one field is end-to-end encrypted. Nothing else.
they're saying, yes, we know, we've seen that, and we do it better, and here's why. So I don't know if we can trust them or not, but if you want a replacement, maybe that's one to check out. And if you were into video editing software has been some of the buggiest, most crash-prone historically software. It's amazing.
But they literally didn't even do checks to see if you're out of video memory. It's like, oh, we use too much video memory.
It's been so bad, but I guess because so few companies are in the game, they're just like, yeah, we don't care about you. Well, maybe they're going to start caring now.
Well, video editors are switching to DaVinci Resolve in droves. It does what it says and isn't awful. That's why. That's why they're switching in droves.
And there's a free version.
Yeah. It works at 1920 by 1080. Fun times. That's exciting.
Bad news for Adobe. Krista would be so excited about that. And
she really likes Krita and the other non-Adobe stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah. Imgur. Imgur has announced a new thing, and people are not happy about this.
Imgur is purging all of the stuff. Like if you uploaded photos anonymously, they might delete them. They're just letting you know.
And you have to be able to prove, if challenged, that you have the copyright for anything that you upload. Any kind of like pictures of people that you can't attribute to, they're worried about like the revenge stuff and all that. And probably also they don't want their stuff to be used to train.
Probably also the bill of hosting and a lot of problems.
And YouTube TV, oh my God, am I tired of hearing about YouTube TV every time I look at YouTube. I hate you. But they did do something really cool with their software that somehow ESPN never figured out to do in all these years.
YouTube TV nabs its first technical Emmy win for its views, quote unquote, feature.
So they're using machine learning and other stuff to go through and sort of pick individual highlights and plays and parts of a sporting event. And then they give you this browser so you can go directly to it. Smart idea.
That seems like something they could even patent.
Oh, I'm sure they have. And the Steam Deck is when's the last time you used your Steam Deck?
Last weekend.
Oh, really? What'd you play?
Metroid Prime Corruption.
Is that the new one?
Mm-hmm. It's a remaster.
Nintendo let them put that on Steam?
No.
Oh. Well, yeah, some people don't use the authorized software on their Steam Deck. They run other things, and they're learning that a lot of people want to do that. So Microsoft says, all right.
Microsoft is experimenting with a Steam Deck-friendly quote-unquote handheld mode for Windows. They looked at the Gaben's device, and the Gaben has sold a lot of those. It's 3 million Steam Decks. 2 million, 3 million, something like that. So there's also a lot of other third-party companies like the Neo that people really like that form factor. You should try it. You should borrow it sometime and try it because it is actually surprisingly good. I'm getting okay with the controller again.
See, I bought the Switch, and I got the special version of the Switch with the Magic hard drive. And even with the entire library at my fingertips, I never played the Switch.
I enjoyed Doom on it. Doom was a lot of fun.
The new Doom or the old Doom?
Eternal. Doom Eternal.
You didn't mind the aiming with the stick?
No, it was it actually, because it sort of cheats a little bit. It's like Metroid Prime where you can, but the Metroid Prime lock-on thing is a lot of fun as well. But I don't. There are other games that I don't enjoy as much. You know, in the previews, one of the things that tipped me over into ordering it was like in their commercial they literally had Factorio. Somebody was playing Factorio on the Steam Deck. That's not a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could see that interface being. Plus the density of the graphics. Yeah.
But there's Monster Train was a lot of fun on it. It was easy to get used to the controller controls on Monster Train with it.
I find the problem with deck builders on the Surface is that they don't adapt with the like touch and slide very well.
I was just using the controller. I very rarely would have to use the touch with Monster Train.
Well, it's interesting that you just named all those different games because that plays perfectly in with this, where they have learned that people our age who 20 years ago wouldn't have known what a video game is are gaming a lot. But the younger generations are really more addicted to social media, it seems. They're not gaming quite as much.
Millennials spend more time playing video games than Gen Z and teens, new study finds. So now we need to gamify social media. We need to go back to Farmville. Remember Farmville?
I think TikTok has already gamified it. They've already figured out the perfect addiction algorithm to keep them engaged. It's working.
Maybe we could game. You remember the sea shanty TikTok? The thing that we should figure out how to gamify that, because that sea shanty TikTok where you could take the video and then mix it with somebody else's and then do the thing. That was really incredible. Like that was really incredible. And the really good ones will bubble to the top and then you get engagement points for that somehow. But
now AI is just going to do that. Also, they pointed out that younger generations were more inclined to play more competitive games, whereas our generation played more MMOs and single player games.
There is a certain zen happiness to get into with Stardew.
I've exhausted it though.
Yeah.
I've done it twice and now I tried to go back a third time. I was like, I can't. Yeah. I already know what's going to happen. And man, this is a terrible one to end on. I sorted this poorly. This is not an exciting story. I'm sorry.
PlayStation to acquire AAA multiplayer developer of Firewalk Studios.
Kind of just points out the more like they want exclusivity.
Yeah.
And so they will gobble up all the game studios to try and control that.
Can't wait for somebody to gobble up for Factorio or Stellaris. Stellaris is another one that's not a lot of fun on the Steam Deck.
What? You want social media integration and paywalls on those games? 10,000 DLCs?
It would be pretty cool if it, was automatically posting to Facebook or whatever. It's like, oh, you've got a universe with a population of 200 billion souls. And it's like, oh, yeah, 200 billion pops. All right.
That's not cool at all. Engagement challenge. Do you want that? Just let me play my game. All right. The big AI stories on Friday.
And a lot of nonsense. So much nonsense. And no computer shopper on Friday.
You have to get your own copy. What do you think that'd go for on eBay?
$3. $4.
You'd have to pay more for the shipping.
What's funny is I've got hard drives that look like that in the basement.
You could start your own retro computer shopper trading post where people buy and sell completely antiquated hardware.
I said all these computer companies are out of business, but I look at this and it's like, no, Asus is still here. Supermicro, Tyan, they're still here. But, they're selling Intel motherboards. Intel just got out of the server game. A-Open, A-Bit, no, A-Bit's gone. DFI is still kind of here, but not really.
It's interesting industrial. It's interesting looking at those boards, how inflation, the board prices are still about the same.
Yeah, it really is. It's like you've got $100, and then like you hear your fancy motherboard is like $500+. If anything, the prices have gone. Not accounting for inflation, the prices have gone up.
That's economy of scale, right?
Yeah,
because we just weren't making them back then.
Yeah, it's like who would be excited about an A-Bit BX6 except half our audience?
All right, join us Friday for more nostalgia.